Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's session. I'm Arshveer Kaur, and I welcome you on the behalf of the organizing partners Connecting Dreams Foundation, Global Network for Sustainable Development, Masterpiece, and Helping Hand International. Before we proceed, I would like to thank the core team of Y4SD, Mr. Art Boss, Dr. Amit Teja, Dr. Simi Mishra, Dr. Sapna Narula, Dr. Ashma Mathur, Priya Goyal, Vasu Gupta, and Weber. For those who have joined us for the very first time, Y4SD serves as a platform for young people globally to share their thoughts, their projects, and their initiatives on how to achieve sustainable development goals. Our today's session is aligned with SDG 2 and 3, Healthy Living, Prioritizing Nutrition. I would like to introduce our expert for the session, Ms. Sonam, founder and director at Health and Style. We welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please wave for us so that our audience is introduced to you? Ms. Sonam. We have a wonderful set of panelists with us today. Mr. Pratyut Voleti, founder at Dribble Academy, and Mr. Mahesh, a social entrepreneur. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for joining us as a panelist today. Can you please wave for the audience? Hi. So, in keeping with the format, we'll hear from our panelists first about their projects. After each presentation, Ms. Sonam may ask the questions. After the presentation from the panelists, we'll hear from Ms. Sonam, and from there, we'll be having questions from audience if the time permits. And for all of you who have been asking for more personalized time with experts and those who wanted to dig deeper, we are very excited to announce the introduction of masterclasses on this platform. Please keep yourself updated, keep watching our social media handles to know more. Without further ado, we will start with the first panelist, Mr. Pradyut Voleti. By all means, this virtual stage is all yours. Please take it away, sir.
Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here and to speak with you all about Dribble Academy Foundation and the work we do. Just a quick background. I finished my master's in clinical psychology with an area of interest in terms of substance abuse, a growing problem amongst rural and urban youth especially. And I felt that that area needed to be addressed. Dribble Academy Foundation provides underprivileged children an opportunity to lead a healthy lifestyle through basketball. We currently work with 3,000 children across Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Haryana. And our goal is to provide them with an opportunity to learn about sports in the rural community. I'll just start a little bit with our private PPT, and then I'll go forward with that. So we're, a growing problem currently in the community, especially in the rural community, is children not having access to any kind of sports activities. When I mean that in terms of my limited experience in government schools in Uttar Pradesh, a lot of children don't have access to any organized sport. And we felt that that was a key way where we could keep children healthy and keep them away from petty crime and substance abuse. If you could move to the next slide, please. So the opportunity to participate in and enjoy sports and play is a human right as per the Charter of Physical Education and Sports adopted by UNESCO in 1978. Currently, the new education policy is emphasizing that all children should have access to some form of sports activities every day. I hope that implementation happens in the next few years. We are an organization with a mission to provide 100,000 rural children with an opportunity to play basketball in as many villages as possible by 2025. Key challenges which we have faced and we see is that because children are not involved in any form of an organized sport, children are having a lack of sense of purpose. A lot of children drop out of school early, no infrastructure in the rural community, higher chances of children falling into the victims of cycle of manual labor or illegal activities, and a lack of proper proactive support from the local administration. In our limited experience of working in the government schools, we've got to know by principals, by administrations that there has been an increase in terms of attendance in schools after our sports program has started. So I feel that sports not only teaches them multiple life skills such as discipline and discipline and teamwork, but it also increases their healthy living, as well as increases their chances of attending school, as well as decreases the dropout rates. So majorly, we're trying to address three major issues. One of them is physical wellness, by being active every day, socio-emotional well-being, where children are learning how to play in a team, and community wellness, where a lot of people in the community are getting exposed to the importance of sports. So overall, we're increasing their physical fitness, we're developing basketball skills, and we're eventually improving their, helping them also perform at a high level. A lot of children in the government school sector don't even play at any competitive level because they don't have a team, they don't have exposure. So that's a gap which we're also bridging. A lot of times, I think another important issue is a lot of times in the rural community, boys and girls don't even play together. I think that's an issue which needs to be addressed. And with our organization, we've managed to have almost a 50% out of the 3,000 children we work with, 1,500 of those children are girls. And a lot of self-respect, a lot of resilience, and a lot of discipline happens through the game of basketball. Community engagement in terms of a lot of children, a lot of parents. If you see this is a small picture of, and you'll see the next picture also, of over 500 people in a village coming to see a sport where they're also understanding a sport, as well as coming back to us saying that our children are learning a lot of life skills through basketball. So community mobilization at its key, where parents are understanding the importance of a physical lifestyle, and why even 20 minutes or half an hour of playing sports is essential for good health. So this is a small picture of an entire community playing, a lot of parents supporting their children, a lot of parents understanding the impact what it's creating for their children in terms of sports. So these are a few major areas which we have addressed through our organization, from a good health and well-being standpoint. From a nutritional standpoint, I also feel that the midday meal quality definitely needs to improve at the government school level. There are organizations which are working towards it, but from a policy perspective, the midday meal is going to have a vital impact in terms of improving their nutrition levels, improving their BMIs. Almost 80% of the children we work with are underweight, and that's a big red flag, with stunted growth, etc. And we through our corporate partners, we're trying to address that issue in terms of providing them with some form of nutrition. But the midday meal, I feel, needs to go up 2 notches higher in case we want to eradicate hunger or reduce their overall stunted growth and improve their BMIs. So those are a few, in a nutshell, what we've managed to do from a good health and well-being standpoint. We are hoping that more and more organizations, corporates, as well as government stakeholders, as well as policymakers, understand why playing sports is important, why what it leads to, and what is the importance in terms of how it's reaching out to United Nations SDG goal of healthy living, as well as reaching out to other SDG goals, from reducing gender inequality, providing better exposure, and mobilizing an entire community. So that's what we do at Dribble Academy Foundation, and our goal is to at least take this game of basketball to at least 100 villages by 2030. We are currently at 100 villages, at 10 villages, and we plan to take it to as many villages and mobilize as many children across India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was great listening from you, and I think you are doing a really tremendous job, and I feel our audience also feels the same way. I would point out, Ms. Sonam, please, can you share your reflections or your questions to Mr. Pradyut?
Yeah. So just let me know if I'm audible enough. Am I
Yes,
clearly
ma'am,
audible
you're
enough?
audible. You're
Yes,
audible,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Perfect. Perfect. So I really like the concept that you have brought. Apparently we've been working with, something which will really complement your entire project. Me as a nutritionist, we absolutely feel the need of physical activity is absolutely important when we talk about nutrition, when we talk about good health. And the area that and the sector of kids that you are targeting is such a beautiful idea because parallelly, I'm working for an organization called Food Shala, which is working at providing mid meals to such sector of kids that you are working. And in mid meals, we're talking about millets, you know. So what you are doing is I think is a fabulous idea. My only concern is, and I had few questions to ask to you, why did you pick a sport like basketball? Because it still requires some equipment, and it requires setting up an area. So why basketball?
Right. One is I was a little selfish about it. I have to be honest. I played the game at a certain level. I feel that the kids in the villages have the talent to play at a high level. From these villages where we are working with, an electrician's son has got selected to play in the Junior NBA World Championship in Orlando. A girl has got a full scholarship at Shiv Nadar School in Noida. So that's also another indirect impact of providing rural children an opportunity to learn a sport. They have a better opportunity to even go into the best of schools in the Delhi NCR region through their sport on a full scholarship, was one of the major reasons. Another major reason was, if you come to think of it, I'm sorry, but I don't have a picture of it today. We have just recently occupied an illegal parking. I'll have to be honest about it. We've illegally occupied a space because the government has told us there is no provision to provide us a space. So we don't have a space to teach children. I have 500 children in one village. And all we did over there at that parking lot was to put 2 bamboo sticks and a hoop. That's all it requires to teach the game of basketball. Everything else can be secondary. Second. And thirdly, it's an Olympic game. And a new concept of the game has come in called 3-on-3, where we don't even need a full court. It's played on a half court. So our idea was that eventually, while we are also promoting other sports like a kho-kho or a kabaddi or badminton, etc., which require very minimal support, basketball was our way of going into these areas and teaching them as a main sport so that they could actually play at a high level. And if there is a kid who has the opportunity to play for the country, go up to the Asian medals or Asian level or the Commonwealth level, that thing. So, but from an infrastructure standpoint, I must tell you, it requires almost bare minimum infrastructure. And that infrastructure, let's say a small concrete half court, can last you nothing less than 15 to 20 years.
So, from where are you? So are you charging these kids? How is the? I missed that part. It wasn't mentioned in your. So right now it is FOS is free of cost. How is it?
Right. So we are working in the government schools and the lower economic private schools in certain villages in Rajasthan and Noida and Bulandshahr and rural UP. All these children are provided free basketball training through our corporate partners, through trusts, through organizations. We are a registered not-for-profit organization where currently we are being supported by one of the biggest corporates called HCL Foundation. And we are currently working with 600 kids, going up to 1,500 kids this year. So it started as a self-funded initiative where a few friends of mine started donating a small amount of money to provide this. And now we are moving into getting corporates on hold. But in a nutshell, it's costing us 125 rupees a month to teach a kid basketball for 365 days a year. So 125 into 12 is what it costs us to teach a kid basketball for an entire year, which would, in layman's term, not even be a month's coaching in a regular school. Like 1,000 to 1,500 is what it costs to get coaching in a regular school for a month. We're able to provide them an entire year of training in that kind of an amount.
Yeah, great. Okay, I think that's the 2 questions I wanted to ask you. So very good concept. Yeah.
Thank
you.
You
probably have the second participant now.
Thank you, Ma'am Sonam, and thank you, Pradyut. Moving ahead, I would like to invite Mr. Mahesh for the presentation. So by all means, this virtual stage is yours. Mr. Mahesh.
Sir, we can't hear you.
We can barely hear you from our end, sir. Hello.
Hello. Yes, Mr. Mahesh. So, are you with us?
Hello.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you. You're audible,
No, we
sir.
can hear you.
Yeah, audible now.
Yes, sir. You're audible. Please go ahead with the
Yes.
presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mahesh Londe from Pune, and right now I'm the founder of Indradhanusha Youth Social Foundation, and we are working for the eradication of the malnutrition and anemia. So now United Nations General Assembly announced the 2023 is a International Year of Millets. So through this millets, we are going to mainstreaming of millets in our diet, because now the world is facing the malnutrition, anemia problems. So we are through this millets, we are just trying to solve the problems of malnutrition and anemia. Next slide. And this is an overview of millets. There are 9 types of millets, but in where we are now, we are working in tribal area, but in that tribal area, but they are growing only 5 millets that is a foxtail millet, kodo millet, little millet, and other little millet, kodo millets, barnyard millet, and brown top millets. We are growing that millets, and these are the 9 millets, but we are growing only 5 millets. For your kind information, I give this 9 millets. And millets are rich in the minerals, vitamins, and others. And millets are also termed as a nutri cereals. Next. And millets are the smart foods, and these are the goods for you, planets, and farmers also. And we are helping this tackling the through these millets, we are the rural poverty, malnutrition, climate change. Next slide. And this is a comparison with the rice and wheats. As compared to this millets, we are comparing the nutritional value with the wheats and rice. You can go through that. I will share the slide with the ma'am, and she will share with all of this. Next slide. And this is a health benefit of millets. Millets are rich in the calciums, iron, and zincs also. So and also benefited for those who are suffering from the diabetes and obesity and cardiovascular disease, because millets are the gluten free, means they have a glycemic index in low, because when you consume the millets, then the glycemic index low, so it will be converted into glucose. When the glycemic index is high, then that will be converted into glucose, and it will be the increase your blood sugars, and it will be also increase your weights also. And so millet also rich in the zincs also and calciums also. So it will be beneficial for the anemia. And also it's beneficial for the heart disease patients also, and it's improve your immunity powers also. And so through these millets we can recover the cancers also with the help of some. We have to consume the millets in daily your diet. In once in the you can use as a breakfast meal, yeah, lunch and dinners also. Next slide. This is a good for the planets. Through this the millets we can the you can the we are facing the climate change, water scarcity, drought resistance also there. Yeah, CO2 carbon dioxide is also increasing. Through this growing cultivation of millets we can help for the planets also. Next. This is good for the small farmers. Marginal farmers can grow the millets because it's require low water and also no need of pesticide. You can grow this naturally also, and they will get a good income also. So through this millets this is you good for the farmers also. Next. There are many reasons for the decline of the millets, because people are not consuming. Yeah, low productivity is there. So getting low productivity, farmers are not cultivating, but it's good for the nutritional value. So we are trying to solve these problems. We are helping to farmers to selection of the variety. Yeah, we are distributing the some biofortified variety which is rich in the iron, calcium and zinc also. So this module we are providing this variety and growing also. After that the harvesting, there is a tragedy for the primary processing. So we are helping to farmers in the tribal area. So we are installing some solar based primary processing units. Through these units we will get some rice. After this primary processing we will get some rice, and that rice we are helping to some SHGs and Anganwadis workers and those who are pregnant and lacting women. We are giving the trainings to them for the how to make some different types of recipe. We have a developer 50 types of recipe, and without any instrument you can make that recipe. And next slide. This is a USP of millets. Dryland crop is there, low water is required, and climate change C4 plants is also there, and this is good for the food fodder, nutritional and health, and also fuel security is there. And demand side is because due to the nutri-cereals is rich in minerals, vitamins, dietary fibers and antioxidants also. And its technology is available. We are aware about this technology, ready to cook and ready to eat products. So we are now right now we are working on that, and we are with the help of some government authorities, we are getting some techniques also and also we are doing some R&D on this product, so we can distribute these products among the Anganwadi students. We are developing some laddu, millets laddu, multi-millets laddu, millets chocolate, cookies and vermicelli. We are developing that is in final stage. Next slide. This is the different types of food product we are working right now. Continents are there, traditional Chinese are there, and some snacks are there. So we are working on this, and right now some product are developed. So we are getting some CSR funds. So we are distributing these products through the CSRs also. Next slide. This is a ready to cook food and based on the millets. So we are giving this training to the SHGs and some Anganwadis worker, millets upma. So we are including this recipes in the midday meals, and also we are training to the pregnant and lacting women, so they can consume these millets easily. And next. And this is value added products. So right now we are working some ready to cook also and ready to eat, beverages also we are working on some soups also. So we are also working on proteins. Next. This is our work, nutritional security. So this is inclusion of the millets in the midday meals for the nutritional value, also distribution of millets in the fragments, and we are trying to include these millets in the PDS, public distribution system, because after 1960, after the green revolution, the rice and wheat is easily available in the market. So the millets are people are decline the production and productivity also. So but after that we are suffering from the many diseases like obesity, diabetes also. Now we are facing the malnutrition is not only the when we imagine the malnutrition, then we imagine the African people, those who are in poor interior of the Africa, but that is not malnutrition. Malnutrition is also deficiency of anemia, obesity. Now the urban children are consuming the junk foods, so they are obesity, so they are not consuming some nutritional value, yeah, minerals and vitamins also. And so we are distributing some millets products also, and nutritional, we are running some nutritional education campaigns in the tribal area. So right now we are only concentrating in tribal area. So after that we will move towards the urban rural area also. And that's it. We are trying for the achieving the sustainable goal through the first goal is no poverty, zero hungers, good health and well-beings, and clean water and sanitation also. Goal number, climate on action, water and land. We are 7. We are achieving the sustainable goal through these projects, and I will try to message you to eat the millets and stay healthy. And next slide. And this is, thank you very much. This is my overview. This is my mail ID if you have, and contact number if you have any doubts. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can call me directly anytime. And thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it's apparent from our chat box that you have inspired a lot of us, and everybody is really inspired and very happy to hear about your initiative.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we have our expert, Sonam ma'am. Ma'am, can you please go ahead with your reflections?
Yeah. I think बहुत अच्छे से आपने present करा. It was really interesting. It was a very good presentation. I just want to ask what is your supply chain? I mean, see, a lot of people are coming in providing millets, and millets is a very good thing which all the kids and adults should eat it. But how are you planning to supply it? Is it pan-India? What are your places?
Ma'am, right now we are working in Maharashtra, Akole block of Ahmednagar district, because in that area we identify a problem, and in the originally some farmers are growing, but nowadays they are not growing because of they declining the productivity of that crop. So we are providing, we develop one innovative model. So we are providing some biofortify variety to farmers, so they can get some nutritional value also and plus production also. So with the help of some Indian Institute of Millet Research, we are providing that. And after that, harvesting task the women have to do. So that is very drudgery in that harvesting. So we have developed one machinery for the primary processing, which is based on solar base, because in tribal area there is no electricity na. So we developed that model, solar based model, and through that machinery we are getting millet rice. After that rice, we are giving the training to the SHG and Anganwadi workers. Through the Anganwadi workers, some pregnant and lacting women, they are getting nutritional supplementary. Right now they are getting wheat and rice. They are not getting millets, but we are providing millets, as well as we are giving the trainings to that women and that SHG women and that Anganwadi workers also. So they are providing these millets to the lacting and pregnant women. And also we have a developed 50 recipe of millets, and also we are working for the Anganwadi students also, because they are also some malnutrition students also there. So we are providing some snacks and a ready to eat product.
Yeah.
So through the CSRs also.
Okay.
So we are providing some laddus, chocolates, multi-millet chocolate is there. Yeah.
Right.
Some puffs are there. So we are providing this product to that Anganwadi student through the CSR.
Okay. Okay. Great. I think very well presented. It was very clear. So yes, I think I think I got my answer very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mahesh. Thank you,
ma'am.
Sonam ma'am. And I think there are many comments in the chat box, and we'll leave the questions from audience at the end. Just a little heads up to the audience. We have posted the quiz in chat box, so do not miss the chance to win the certificates. Please attempt our quiz. And meanwhile, moving ahead, I would invite Ms. Sonam to share her thoughts and her initiative with us. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. I think it's a beautiful concept of bringing up like-minded people. I am Sonam. I'm a clinical nutritionist, and I've been working in this field for almost 15 years. As my logo says, real food for real people. And I started this company almost 15 years back by the name of Health and Style. Next slide, please. Thank you. So basically, the entire idea of how I work is, so I work in helping people, whether they are kids, whether they are senior citizens, in helping them to eat the right food. And I believe every disease and every problem can be solved when you eat the right food in the right way. And luckily today we saw two participants who had touched the right subject. One who had talked about sports nutrition, which is very important, as in, physical activity is equally important when we talk about holistic health. And second was spoken about millets. So I believe in a lot of Ayurveda and natural ways of curing any and every disorder in the body. So as my thing says, it's about eating the right food in the right side. Next slide, please. Can we have the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So in the current situation, we are working with almost 5,000 clients globally, and we treat all these mentioned points that are there, from weight loss to PCOD, thyroid, blood pressure, sugar reversal, and can that person please mute? Becomes a little difficult to talk. Yeah. Thank you. So the idea is that under Health and Style, we guide people to eat the right grains, the right fruits, so that all the medical conditions can be cured. Next slide, please. Thank you. So how we work is, see, we understand the client's profile, whether they are kids, whether they are adults, whether they're just looking for weight loss, whether it's a post-delivery case, and we understand their case. We understand from which background they are coming, what is their cultural backup, what kind of support system they have, and accordingly we guide them to eat the right amount of food from their kitchens. We don't recommend anything which is artificial, anything which is based on powder or synthetic stuff. There is, right now there is a whole trend about keto diets and intermittent fasting and GM diets. We don't do that. If you're a South Indian, we'll give you your idlis and dosas. If you are a Punjabi, we'll give you your parathas. So we let you enjoy food, and we also make you learn a lot about food based on Ayurvedic sciences. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this basically talks about that we specializes in weight management and various health-related issues. We plan your nutrition, and we run various programs. We have done tie-ups with lots of institutes and schools and NGOs, To name few of them is Foodshala, which is one of my very personal tie-up of an NGO where we are working at providing healthy meals to these unprivileged kids. Apart from that, I work with a lot of NGOs. I work with a lot of corporates, so that we can tell people that, in their hectic life, and especially now from work from home, how important it is to eat right food. How to balance junk and unjunk, the food, the thin line between junk food and the no, not non-junk food. And so, I mean, I personally, for me, this whole line of nutrition is more about my passion than just work. Next slide, please. So as I said, I've worked with many organizations. Just named few of them. So first is GITO. It is a Gen International Trade Organization where we work with all the big corporates across globe. Then is Foodshala. Then we work with a lot of senior citizens because it's very important for us to explain them the right amount of food, keeping their medications in mind. Then we work with various organic brands which are providing genuine, organic foodstuffs from jaggery to millets to salad leaves. And then we also work with an organization called Fit Kids. It aims at bringing fitness amongst kids, that how important it is for kids to get themselves in some physical form of activity. So basically, the entire idea of my brand and my working is a complete transformation. Is just not based on eating certain amount of calorie or just losing weight. It's a complete transformation of your lifestyle. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a brief about health and style, and we look forward for expanding our wings wherever we see the possibility that through food, through nutrition, through right education, people can learn every day what is right food and what is wrong food. A lot of people, they tend to not eat only just because they don't know what to eat, and a lot of people tend to because there's so much of information available on internet nowadays. Most of them are so confused what to do, so they just pick up things at random. So that's why it's very important to get yourself associated with somebody who can guide you, and that's the kind of platform we probably offer to all the people who come to us, and we work on a very one-to-one basis. So I think that will be in brief about my company and my work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pam. You have inspired us with your initiative. And we can see it from the chat box again. There are so many questions that our audience has asked, and there are so many appreciation posts as well. So I'm opening the stage for the question. Anybody from the audience, you can ask the question in the chat box. Meanwhile, there is this question from our fellow panelist, Mr. Pradyut, to Mr. Mahesh. Mr. Mahesh, are you with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Mr. Pradyut wants to know, sir, what is the price of millets and what is the quantity that a child should consume in a day?
Ma'am, price of the millets is vary according to the location. In our area, we are getting 60 to 70 rupees kg because there are 5 types of millets. We are getting different types of. Some are 50 rupees kg, some are 45, yeah, 70. Average you will get it 60 rupees. And small according to age, we have to consume different types of consumption is there. So from the first up to 5 years, you can consume as a 40 to 50 gram per day.
Okay, sir. Great. Thank you. I have a question for Sonam ma'am. Ma'am, we have our fellow panelist, Mr. Pradyut, who is also working with children. And I think, are there any specific suggestions for the smart food that is affordable, as well as that is nutrition rich, so that can be served to the children at affordable rate? So, ma'am,
If
can
I
you
could,
please give us
if I could
suggestions?
possibly frame that a little differently,
Definitely, sir. Please
allowed.
go ahead.
We have been providing bananas to the children for the last 2.5, 3 years. We continue to do so. Logistics is definitely an issue, but we are gradually trying to mobilize the community also to get involved in our program in some ways. Let's say mothers getting involved and giving back to us. We don't charge them anything, but it would be a great way if the parents could also contribute in whatever little way they can. If you could tell us a little bit about, one is, what are some easy ways of improving BMI? And if that is and if it is really important and something we should be very concerned about, that would probably be my question.
Yeah. Okay. See, what you're doing is a very good thing. Now, the problem that we face with kids, be it underprivileged or anyone, I mean, I as myself as a kid, I would go and play my sports, but the moment I'm back, I would want something sugary to drink, or I would open a packet of chips and eat it, or I would, finish the complete pack of cream biscuits. The idea is that the entire sport that you are trying to make them play is defeated because the child consumes junk food. But they don't know what to eat. If you give them 10 rupees, most of the kids of that era will go and buy a kurkura, or they will go and pick up a fruity. They will never go and buy apples, or they will never go and buy ragi biscuits or ragi matris. So the entire idea is to educate them and make them understand that, when you are playing any sport, for example, banana is a fantastic idea to give them because they all are underweight, and this will give them a rush of energy. So there are few food groups that I can guide you, which you can with your community help them to provide to these kids. But as of now, you don't have to focus on increasing their BMR, because that will become very challenging. What needs to be focused is that they are active, that they are hydrated, that they are absolutely hydrated. Okay. And besides hydration, that they are active. You have to get there, if it is possible in the long run, get their vitamin D's and iron blood test check, put up a camp every 6 months and get their these basic iron and vitamin D blood tests done. So the BMR thing is really not important. Now the different food groups that, and which is very easy on pocket apart from bananas, is sattu. Summer is coming in, make sure these kids get sattu drinks, to in atta form, in any form which these can have. Okay, it is purely high protein. Apart from that, make them consume a lot of chana, the simple bharka buna chana that you get in India. Okay, so a handful of it again will give them that rush of energy. It will take care of the protein, or it will take care of the carbohydrates. It will take care of fiber intake in them, right? Apart from that, charge is a very good idea. It is cheap on pocket. Everybody has curd in their houses. Tell them, teach them that, go home, drink a glass of buttermilk and then come. Or, after the session, everyone will go home and have charge, right? So these are the food groups. Apart from that, if you end up doing a tie-up with somebody who's providing you millets, ragi works very well, because again, ragi is very high in calcium. So a lot of kids, they don't want to drink milk by choice, by default. So they just want to skip the entire idea of having milk. So ragi plays a really good role. So, in their houses, if ragi could be consumed in a longer run, so that can really help them. Again, a quick snack is banana chips, although it's fried, but again, it is a good form of calorie. It will give them instant energy, and it will help them to sustain that energy for longer hours. So these are the list is very long, but I think these should be good enough for you to get in that line and start these products. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very elaborative. Ma'am, we have a question for you. The question is from Richard. Ma'am, he's asking that how do you ensure that genetically modified organics are not used in your food products? He wanted to know this.
Can you reframe the question? Genetically modified
organics are not used in your food products.
It's not used. So what exactly does he mean to say by genetically modified organics? Can he ask and elaborate in a better manner so I can answer it right precise there?
Richard, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Hi, Richard.
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, let me elaborate a little bit on the genetically modified organics. You know, there are
Yes.
chemicals that have been put into the cultivation of various crops on the farms to boost their
Right.
growth and enhance them
Right.
to grow faster and grow very well. So I wanted to
Right.
know, like, in your perspective, how do you ensure that those chemicals are not put into the cultivation of your products on the farm, starting from the farm? Yes.
Thank you, Richard. So, apparently, thank you so much for asking. So, apparently, yes, the entire market is filled with organic food right now, and it is so difficult to find out which is genuine and which is not. I mean, you will get a packet of millet for 80 rupees also, and you will get a packet of millet for 200 rupees also. And, human psychology, you might just pick up something which is more expensive because you think that is a better quality product. Now, what you do to find out something which is purely organic and is not made by using any chemicals is try to do tie-ups and try to find out vendors like Mahesh ji, who are absolutely producing right from the farms, where the supply chain is not elongated. When you find vendors who are producing right from the farms, right in the tribal areas, you will end up getting food product which is absolutely more organic. And that's a little research that you will have to do at your end, or I mean, if you are interested, I can probably help you later finding out few brands in India which I genuinely know are providing absolutely organic products, starting from even jaggery to all the millet flours and ghee, a lot of things. So yes, it's a little tricky thing to trust and find out which is pure and which is not, but the best way is to keep doing the research about the company and try to pick up something which is directly coming from the farms.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Sonam ma'am. We have our last question for Mr. Pradyut. Manisha wants to know, are you planning to expand your operations to the urban area as well, sir? So you're on the mute.
I'm sorry. We are already in the urban areas in Noida. We're providing basketball training in a few societies. And yes, we are looking at expansion in different cities, wherever we can find a society or a school or a sports stadium where we can possibly execute this program for rural and urban kids. We want to take basketball to as many children as possible across the country.
Great, so that's really inspiring thoughts here. I would like to extend my gratitude to our panelists, to our expert, and to the audience for joining us. It was a great session indeed. We all are inspired by your stories, by your projects, by your initiatives. Thank you for joining us today. And before we leave, I would again like to make an announcement. Our master classes are starting, and master classes brings together senior sustainability professionals, industry and industry experts. These sessions will provide an engaging and interactive format to deliver through leadership engaged in hand-on work. So get ready and keep watching our social media handles for more updates. Stay connected for upcoming sessions as well. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.